Okay. Folks in cyberspace, welcome and welcome to focus on Liberia on the program, The Hour of Politics, with me, Anthony C. Again, welcome to this special edition of our program, The Hour of Politics on Focus on Liberia. My name is Anthony C. And for our today's program, I have with me Mr. Stephen Johnson and Mr. Morris Mann. The two gentlemen have a little disagreement on the printing of new banknotes by the Liberian government. And so we have brought them in today to have a national conversation on this very, very important subject. And so folks, if you are joining us, please share the video and stay with us as we bring in our guests for them to introduce themselves. Mr. Johnson,
all right,
focus on Liberia.
Thank you.
Please introduce yourself to our audience, please.
Thank you, Anthony. It's always a pleasure to have these kinds of conversations where we can all share light on cross-cutting and evergreen subject matter concerning Liberia, and to be able to provide in our own way, our own understanding about particular issue. I'm Stephen, as you rightly stated. I've worked in both the private and public sector. I've held a number of positions in the government of Liberia. I've worked as a senior economist for the government. I have a training in economics, finance, and public policy, and so that is just an overview about who am I.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. And Mr. Morris Mann, a little bit about yourself, please.
Yeah, thank you, and so thank you on the show. I was here in recent time. And anyway, my name is Morris Mann. I'm overwhelmed to be part of the conversation. It is good that Liberians come on this kind of platform to discuss the way forward of the country. That's why we had different views, but we are not enemy. We are here to discuss our country. And I just want to sound a disclaimer before I proceed. I'm not here as, I am a statistician, but on the show as a professional person. I have 12 years experience in both public and private sector financial management, both accounting and auditing. And I'm trained financial expert. I hold an MBA in business administration with emphasis in accounting. I also hold an MSc in accountancy. I come to this platform as a professional to take a position that I know will put my country where it's supposed to be. So thank you for bringing me on.
That was the voice of Mr. Morris Mann. Earlier, you listened to the voice of Mr. Stephen Johnson. Gentlemen, we brought you in here today, here on Focus on Liberia, on our program called The Hour of Politics with me, Anthony C., to discuss the topic, should the WIA administration be allowed to print new money? So we will allow Mr. Johnson to go first. Mr. Johnson, before you can come in, you are aware that we had billions printed, and now we are talking about another billions to be printed.
Exactly.
Should the government or this administration be allowed to do so?
Well, thank you, Anthony. And I first like to put the conversation or the question into context and look at the rationale behind why central banks print money. And then also look at, take you through a brief historical perspective about Liberia and how over time we've been printing money and we've not solved to the extent all of the structural issues associated with not just the quantum of money in the economy, but also the economic output of the country. We did it first in the 1980s under President Dole. We printed new money, changed the currency to what was famously known as the dough coin. What happened? We saw that in the intervening period, members of the PRC government, most of them got fabulous sum of money. The Liberian market became flooded with Liberian dollar. The economic output grew, though minimally, but it did not correlate with what was actually in the supply of money. And then fast forward to the 1990s under interim President Sawyer, controlling about 20% of the country, printed new money. We saw what happened. There was two currency, well, technically three currency. You had the Liberty, the JJ, and the US dollar as all legal tender. It affected our economy greatly. And then until recently, we had the issue of the new money being printed. All of us here on the line and those listening have all been familiar with the news about the money and what has been unfolding subsequently. But here's the point I like to emphasize. The rationale beyond printing money has to be backed by economic activities. Money, the central bank has to its disposal a number of intervening tools it can use to stabilize the economy. And in monetary economics, we say that the central bank has about three ways it can intervene in the economy. The first one is through open market operations. That is where the central bank comes into the market and buy and or sell securities. The other way is for the central bank to either increase or reduce the reserve requirement ratio, which is the money that the central bank will require of a commercial bank to keep at the central bank. And then third but not the least, the discount rate, the rate at which the central bank will encourage commercial bank to save their money. And so unless all of those tools are effectively managed, printing money becomes a disaster, especially in the case where over the last 2 years, we've seen that the IMF, World Bank have reported that our growth rate is declining. The country economic growth rate is is below zero. We look at the unemployment rate has risen astronomically. If you also look at wages, minimum wage, wages have been cut drastically to meet up with expenditure, to meet up with revenue, so to speak. And a number of things has been happening. And so the rationale beyond printing money, simply because you want to fund your part of your budgetary difficulty, doesn't make economic sense, because it reminds of 1923 in Weimar, Germany, when the German government decided to print money just to repatriate Allied forces. What happened? It resulted into hyperinflation to the extent where the German currency, it was 4,200 trillion to a dollar. That's how worthless to the extent the German currency became, because what Germany at the time did not have the economic backing in terms of the strength of the economy to support the currency, to the extent where children started using the currency as toy. It became building block. In the case with Liberia, we do not have a strong economy. First thing is we are import-based economy, meaning that all of what we consume locally, about 80, 85, 90% of what is consumed locally is imported. And so printing new money, when in fact output staying the same or reducing, will further devalue our already devalued currency. Now it makes it even difficult. As you can see recently, you see that there's a fall in the exchange rate because of all of the speculations, but then the other prices still remain high. So the point about printing new money should first, before you reach to that point, you first address all of the structural issues. Why is it people don't trust the bank? Those are issues along the discussion we will delve into. So let me just reach here for a while, and then as the discussion progresses, we'll provide for you in much more detail why why we believe that it is bad economics to print money simply because you have deficiency in meeting up with your salary obligation. And I was having a conversation with a group of colleagues the other day, and one of them said, "But why can the U.S. government, for example, just print money to fund her over 200 trillion national debt when she has, the capacity to do so?" And so, we had this conversation. Part of what came was, look, it is not just about printing money. Money should be backed by the economics, by the economy, by economic output. What is the GDP? GDP, as you all know, is the gross domestic product, which measures the total number of goods and services produced in the country within a particular period, basically a year. So what is our GDP? So all of those things must be taken into serious consideration before anybody can proceed with the decision to print new money.
Thank you. Thank you there, Mr. Johnson. Let's come to Mr. Morrisman. Mr. Morrisman.
Yeah, brother.
You have been clear on this issue of printing new money.
Yes.
We are aware that very recently you penned a letter to the speaker outlining the reason why we should print new banknote. My question to you will be, how will the printing of new banknote maintain the macroeconomic stability challenges that we are facing?
And firstly, I think we missing something on the argument here. And the issue here is, if you read the letter that wrote the national legislature, I outlined several factors, several issues that the country was faced with in terms of, the money. And my argument is not because the government is not talking about printing additional money. I think they will look at the war because people thinking that the government want to print additional money. That's not my argument. And that's not what the government is going to do. What is going on in Liberia, that our entire money printing process have been marked with fraud. And it's undermined even the legality of our money on the market. Because before money even have security backing, the first it should be what? A legal tender. And for money to be legal tender, it has to seek legislative approval. And I don't want to go back to, I don't want to go to 1980, because if you go to 1980, there are a lot of reasons that trigger and the printing of the currency during the Doe regime. Doe wanted to localize the economy. That's why he printed, because and Liberia was like using the United States dollar to want to localize the economy. So he had to print a unique dollar that would localize the economy, that would reduce inflation, that would reduce capital flight. That's why he put a lot of coins that people could not travel with the money. You're going to use the money in the country. In 1990, Sawyer printed money to devalue those money that was stolen from the various banks, because Prince Johnson, Charles Taylor, those guys looted the banks and they had the money at the various bases. So for Sawyer to have control over the economy, what he did was what? To what? Change the currency, because he controls it to control the economy. So he changed it to devalue the money, to make the money that was stolen from the central bank worthless. So like that, the rebel who have control over the economy will get, because he wanted leverage. He did it because of leverage. And in 2005 and 6, the money that was printed for the purpose. They printed the money to what the central bank wrote the national legislature to seek approval to print $5.5 billion. The central bank approves that request, and the intent of that request, that's a normal transaction activity within the central bank. The central bank can what? And replace mutilated money. So the central bank said most of the money that were printed from the 80s to the 90s, those money was already in Liberian way getting ratty. So it was intended to replace the mutilated money. But instead of replacing the mutilated money, the central bank under the United Party-led government left the mutilated money on the market and placed the 5.5 billion on the market. That tells you that because you already have that money on the market and you place 5.5 to increase the volume of money on the market. They didn't stop there. They went and printed almost $13 billion that never went through legislative approval. And that $13 billion were infused in the economy. So what happened with the volume of money? The volume of money increases. And they draw down on mill and put pressure on the economy because it reduces the US dollar from the market. And our economy is heavily import based. Everything we consume in our country, we import then. So the demand for the US begin high. So when demand of the commodity gets higher, the price is increased. So you see now because we got more money on the market, you see the price of the US because the demand put pressure on the Liberian dollar. So because we have more money in the market, it devalues the money. The issue I raised in my letter is the $13 billion that were printed. The fact that, because my argument is the process was marked with fraud. And the money on the market, our currency, almost 80% of our money is fake. It's fake.
All
because
right.
let me make the point. The $13 billion were printed and now went to legislative approval. That money is not legal tender. Stephen Johnson worked at the finance ministry. The finance ministry is responsible to prepare the budget. But the budget is not a spending authority until the national legislature approves it. The fact that the national legislature never approved that money is not a legal tender, and that money in circulations. And we can leave the money, the unaccounted for currency in the market, and say you can build an economy on fake money because you don't even know the amount of money on the market. You don't even know you don't even know the actual security of the money. So those are issues we need to consider. It's not just printing additional money. I'm talking about demonetizing the money. It's that withdrawing everything we have from the market and bringing a unique currency or a unique security future to guide the process. Because if you don't have unique money, how monetary policy works? I don't get it.
Thank you, Morris Mann. That was the voice of Mr. Morris Mann, one of our guests here on Focus on Liberia. Folks in cyberspace, if you just joined us, please share the video. My name is Anthony Sie, and I am the host on this program called The Hour of Politics here on Focus on Liberia. We also have with us Mr. Stephen Johnson. Gentlemen, now you've made your opening statement. We will now be going into the interactive section of this conversation. Mr. Johnson, my question to you is, inflationary pressures have heightened and the Liberian dollar has further weakened. How does the printing of money will help in this situation as Mr. Mann is trying to propound?
Well, Anthony, I've said initially in my opening comment that it doesn't help inflationary pressure or the whole inflation. Take for instance, we had an inflation of somewhere around 15 to 18%. We printed new money. What happened? The inflation jump. It even doubled up to 33%. But here's the point I like to make, and I and I hope the conversation will not degenerate into UP versus CDC, and that's what I hate for it to do. Because if you look at the how the money came into the country, and if you look at whether it's the cruise report or the PIT report, you'll notice that all of the monies that we're talking about came in the country during the previous government and the current government, as far as the cruise report is concerned. And the PIT, 61% of that money came in under the last administration, 39% of that money came in under the current administration. And so if the argument here is that that money did not meet legislative approval, to the extent that the current government will establish ownership of the money that came into the country on the whole, and then through its central bank use it into the economy, invalidates the argument about the legality of the money. But here's the point I like to make. The money in the country. Just a few months ago, we were made to believe that there were, and this is where it gets interesting. A few months ago, we were made to believe that there were excess liquidity of Liberian dollar on the market. There were excess liquidity to the extent where the government had to draw down on our net reserve, 25 million from our net reserve, to be able to what was famously known as the mop-up exercise. That mop-up exercise, according to the central bank, was to vacuum excess Liberian dollar that was in the economy. And with the belief, however, that after vacuuming that, all of the excess Liberian dollar in the market, it will trigger the rate to drop. So 25 million was approved. The TMT, the Technical Economic Management team, along with the guys at Central Bank, went around in SUVs, pickup truck around the country into bureaus, foreign exchange bureau, and bought US and bought Liberian dollars. And so after a while, we saw that the rate had a fall. The rate dropped, even though it was not sustained, but it dropped, and then it ended up, soar. But here's the point. There's the interesting part I want you to understand. Now, 6 months down the road, what happened? We don't even have Liberian dollar in circulation. We don't even have Liberian dollar in circulation. The central bank is all the Liberian dollar. The commercial bank all the Liberian dollar, to the extent that the government cannot meet her payroll expenses. So what has happened? So this is where, when I say we must first address the structural issue associated with money. And yes, what is the problem, Anthony? Yes, what is the problem? I have been involved with the economy of Liberia for quite some time. And in the last administration, I was also fortunate to have served as one of the commissioners of customs. And so over time, I had a wide range of understanding about all of the economic activities, as well as all of these other economic issues. The biggest problem is trust. The biggest problem in Liberia is trust is the lack of trust from the consumer to the banking public. People don't trust the bank. And part of the reason people don't trust the bank, yes.
Steve, we will get to the issue of trust. All right, but let's look at the acting CBL boss said that there is shortage in the liquidity of cash on the market because they are not printing money to replace the mutilated banknotes. That's why he said recently, and he said this, I think it was on Monday when he said that.
Well, but then it raises more concern, because the first money that the CBL printed was 5.4 billion with the intent to get rid of the mutilated banknote. Now, and once you get rid of the mutilated banknote, it shouldn't have altered the money supply, because it's like you take $5, you put $5, you take $5, you put $5, right? So it shouldn't have altered the money supply. So unless the central bank is telling us that the initial intervention she made, where she decided to clean the economy of the mutilated banknote, it did not yield result, then that would be a different argument. But for the CBL again to come back and say, well, we need to print additional money to replace the mutilated note. Now, because here's what's happening, and this is where I want us to take the conversation. As you replace the money, the money that comes out into the market is not going back into the bank. It is not going back into the bank. So it means that every time we have the issue of money supply shortage, we will continue to print money. So you see the point I'm making. The point I'm making here is, what are we doing to ensure that the money that the central bank will infuse into the economy will go back into the bank? That is the circular flow of money. That is not happening. So every time we say, well, $50 billion mutilated, we come, we print, we move all the $50 billion mutilated notes, we either destroy them or keep them, charge them, then we'll put $50 million back in the economy because we're replacing money. Then that $50 million is dried down. You can find it after 6 months. What is the cause? So, and I hope as we have this conversation, we can begin to shift towards that particular aspect so that we can delve deeper into what is causing it that every time money is supplied into the economy, it doesn't end up back, it doesn't go back into the economy, into the bank, to the extent where the bank will over time still be infusing money into the economy.
All right, let's bring Morris in here. Mr. Mann.
Yeah.
Aggregate demand in economic is the basis for economic development and growth, and not the printing of money. So tell us, how can the printing of money be a viable solution at this time?
And see it, we have structural issues that we have to address. Okay, but the printing of money won't address all the economic issues in the country. But what the point I was stressing here, and Steven Johnson talked about SL equality. The first question we want to ask ourselves, how we got to the point of having SL equality on the market? That where the investigation should first start. For me, I'm an auditor, I believe in trend analysis. That why SL liquidity on the market? Why SL liquidity on the market? Because CBL requested to print $5.5 billion to replace the mutilated banknote. And when they printed that $5.5 billion, assumption would tell me that they wanted to replace $5.5 billion on the market. They left the $5.5 billion on the market, the mutilated money, and brought the new $5.5 billion added. So the 5.5 that were already on the market plus another 5.5, what we're talking about $11 billion. So what happened to the money supply? The money supply increased.
Well,
yes, I'm coming on.
Yeah, it's in line with what you are saying. Very recently, like Steven said earlier, we said there were excess liquidity, and that was
mop it up. So what the mop up money?
Issue of the 25 million came in. So can you include that?
What's the money that we mop up? Where is it?
Okay. So, and the printing of the entire money from.
So where's the mop up money? If you times 25 million by, let's say, the prevailing rate of 200, so what happened to that money we mop up, the 25 million, if you put it into Liberian dollar, what happened to it?
Well, I can't speak to that because the central bank in the report they said the money was in the vault.
Because I'm not to cut you.
Listen. The central bank mop all the money and they have the money within in the vault.
So why can't they put it out if you have shortage?
But if they put it out, listen to me now. The first what I think what we need to understand here is why we're having SL liquidity on the market. Why the money not going out of the market? It's because we have surplus money. Our money is exposed to counterfeiting. Most of the money coming in the market is counterfeit. We don't even have controls in place to mitigate the risk of counterfeiting our money. As we speak,
are you suggesting that some of the money they map?
Even if you print new money, you still deal with the issue of counterfeit.
Listen now. My argument here is the demonetization process will take away all the mutilated banknote, the legacy banknote, all the old monies, then will bring a unique currency with strong security features. Then we have a unique money. Then we know how much we have on our money market. Up to still, we don't even know how much money in circulation. We don't even know. So we'll always have the issue of SL liquidity. Listen now, MAPA is not the best strategy. The best strategy here is to what? Take all the money from the market, come with new currency, have security to prevent counterfeiting, to have a unique currency to know how much money in the market. Because even if you look at our money, you have almost 80% of Liberian currency circulating outside the banking sector.
So what is responsible? It's what we should be talking.
Morris.
What is responsible is when central bank, the manner in which central bank printed the money and infused it in the economy is what responsible for the asset in the market instead of the bank.
No, I think no, Morris. I strongly disagree. And
I would disagree.
Here's the point I want us to make.
Because I come in now, I would disagree.
Let him let Steve, and then we'll get back to you.
Central bank, the national legislature approved $5.5 billion. Central bank went ahead and print additional $13 billion and infused that money in the economy. You know where they put that money? That money in circulation. That money in circulation, Steven.
All right.
So then what is causing the shortage? If that money is in circulation, why can't no Liberian dollar in the economy?
People hoarding the money.
So then you're coming to the point I've been raising earlier.
I'm coming now. So
how does printing new money address the fact that people would
the fact that people hoarding the money, they want to put the money on the market because people hoarding the money for several reasons. Some people holding the money for political reasons. Some people holding the money because they don't have trust in the banking sector to keep that money there. And then we'll go back to the 1990 scenario where Amos Sawyer printed money. Amos Sawyer printed money to devalue money people that were holding, money people to store and they were holding. So it will print new currency with strong security feature and give like the 30 days for everybody to change their money. People will come out with their money. I can't be Syrian.
Let me speak on the Amos Sawyer thing a little bit.
So we can bring Steve in.
Syrian. I come in. If people fail to come out in 30 days to change their money, the money you'll be holding after 30 days, it began fake money. So it's worthless. That's what happened to Prince Johnson. That's what happened to Charles Taylor.
So
all right, come in.
Anthony, let me just say this on the issue of let me start first with the issue of Amos Sawyer. The first thing is the currency did not have the money that were printed did not have the economic backing, because if you look at the country at the time, the Sawyer had control less than 20% of the country. So the JJ became powerful to the extent that people were exchanging liberty. The JJ had more value than the liberty. People were using 2 liberty to get 1 JJ. That's how powerful the JJ became, because Taylor at the time, who controlled about 80% of the country, was still using the JJ. So Sawyer changing of the new money did not alter the economy in ways where it made the JJ to be devalued. No, in fact, it made the JJ powerful. But let me just come back to the issue of money. You see banking. In banking is one critical area that since it evolved, it deals basically with the issue of confidence and trust. And so in banking, there are 2 key areas that is the focus in banking. Is first, reliability. How reliable is the bank? Because when people want their money, they should have it. That's why you keep their money. When they need it readily, it should be available. The second thing is the issue of prioritizing the interests of your customer. So in Liberia, one of the things we've done in Liberia within the banking sector is to make it basically transactional. It's just about, you come, you collect your money, you go. We've not been able to make banking, to revolutionize banking, to make it more personal. In America, banking is more personal, because when you keep somebody money, when you keep my money, the level of confidence I must have in you to be able to entrust you with my money has to be overwhelmed. Because if I have $2 billion, for instance, if I have $1 million, for instance, and I can go to a bank and look at you sitting behind the counter and say, man, they have my $2 billion, keep it for me and go home and sleep sound. It has more to do with just the ordinary transaction. That's why in America, you see they have personal bankers. Those personal bankers will reach out to clients, they will talk to them, they will give them ways how their money can grow. They will, you know, in Liberia, it's not like that. In Liberia, it's basically transactional. The last time even my money I have in Liberian bank, I've never had any banker call me any day to tell me anything about alternative option in the bank that I can use to grow my money. Nothing. Nobody tells you anything. The only thing you do, you wear your money there the day you go withdraw it, the system down. That is what has been happening. So what is happening in the economy is two things. One, the precautionary demand for money. When people speculate that something eventually will happen, and when it happens, they need their money, they will keep it. They will keep it home. They will keep it home because they know that if something happens, they have money on their mattress, even though it has greater risks if your house should get burned or something. But they prefer it because at that stage, they can easily transact. They can go under the mattress, collect money. They can do things. The second thing is hoarding. Hoarders make profit from money. The last time President Weah spoke, I think it was in January or so, you saw the exchange rate going down. The rate dropped. Well, the reason the rate dropped, prices stayed the same. So those guys who initially had exchanged the Liberian dollar for around 200, when the rate dropped to 193 or 190, they bring their excess Liberian dollar into the economy and buy US.
Steve.
So the rate dropping. So when they collect the US, they're making profit for each 200, they're making $7 profit. Steve. So then they make profit. So because of that, you see that people do not trust the bank. In fact, to the extent where people trust susu men who pass around the market with bags on their shoulder. Steve. Nobody knows their lodging place. But the market women will prefer to give their money to this guy who will pass around with bag on his shoulder, a susu card, and collect the money. So we need to, I'm coming. We need to first explain, we need to first be able to understand what is causing people to not have trust into the banking system, to the extent that even if you print new money, people will still not, if they collect it, they will not take it back to the bank.
Steve.
Yeah.
Steve, you are an economist and you know that money is the store of value. So somebody may argue that looking at money being the store of value that determine, the strength, the value of our economy, our economy has to be quantified in terms of money, whether it's in kind or cash. All right. So one would argue that we must change our money because the current money we have has been economically, or somebody will use a big word, bastardized, because we had too much money on the market. No one knows, because if you remember, Lane Eugene Nambwe, at some point when the story of the 16 billion came out, he said some money were printed in China. All right. And at some point, he even said that some money were printed in South Africa. So no one knows exactly what kind of money we're dealing with here. What do you say to that?
I don't think it's true. I don't think it's true. And even in that conversation, you listen to the Minister of Finance. Yeah. The Minister of Finance, who controls the fiscal arm of the government, intimated to the media that the information that all of those money was missing were not true. And to say that also, money, and I continue to say, Anthony, money must be backed by economic output. For instance, if we move our country to an export-based economy, for instance, agriculture, if we start exporting cocoa, food crops, tea, and what have you. When an investor comes to Liberia to transact, he will demand your currency. He will demand your Liberian currency because that will be the currency he will want to buy in to be able to buy your locally produced content in your currency. So when he does that, it makes your money to appreciate, because this is demand for your money. This is economic supply demand. So it creates demand for your money. It makes your money to appreciate. So for somebody to come here and say too much money in the market, plenty all over, if that was the case, Anthony, By now, you will see money all on Broad Street. You'll see money all on the sidewalk. Because, and let me just provide you with this information. Crane Currency, who printed the money through the chief executive, had said recently in the last few days that it was not true that they printed XYZ number of money. What happened was double counting. The people who reported that money was missing counted a consignment twice. So for instance, if they say 5 billion were printed, somebody repeated that 5 billion. So the total money, they say 16 billion or whatever billion. So the question, you know, and that's why I continue to stress that unless we focus more on the structural challenges we have, printing new money will not solve the problem. It wouldn't even solve 5% of the problem. The only thing you will solve is that you have new money. But whether that new money has the economic value to appreciate over the US will still not be the case. It will still be a worthless currency. It will still be a currency against 200 Liberian dollar to a dollar US. It wouldn't create employment. Unemployment will still remain high. Inflation number will still increase. Growth rate will still be reduced, and nothing will change.
All right, Steve, let's leave it there. Folks in cyberspace, you are falling off. This is Focus on Liberia. Today, we are on a program, The Hour of Politics, with me, Anthony Cyr. We have with us Mr. Maurice Mann and Mr. Stephen Johnson. The two gentlemen are here, and we are having a national conversation whether or not the WIA administration should be allowed to print new banknotes. Steve, what question do you have for Mr. Mann? Mr. Mann believes that even though printing of money will not solve all the macroeconomic stability we're having, but it will help, you know, to a greater extent. What question do you have for him?
Well, you know, I understand from when men speak, and I'll come to the question. I think he's more concerned with the politics surrounding the money than the economics, and I'm the opposite. I'm more concerned with the economics of the money because it's where the core critical issues that we have to address. He's more concerned with the politics. And my question would be that, man, okay, for the last week, just a few months ago, we all argued here that Liberian dollar was in excess supply. There was excess liquidity of Liberian dollar on the market to the extent where we had to use 25 million of our net reserve to mop up, right? We mop up. When the central bank said we were about to mop up, they said, well, they will collect the mop up money, then they will sterilize it, meaning they will keep it in the bank for a certain number of time. The two reports issued by both the government through SPIT and Cruz said that all of the money that was mopped up did not go back into the bank to be sterilized as was reported. So it brought the bank.
Steve, you're making your question too long.
Yeah, it's a question. I'm just trying to lay the basis. I said you want me to answer yes or no question. So my point is, don't you think, man, that we must first address all of these issues? The issue of whether true money got missing, whether people were responsible, whether we should do all of the things I've just named. Don't you think,
Johnson, what is your question?
My question is, don't you think we should focus on that first before deciding to proceed on printing new money?
And Johnson, let me make you to understand. See, money is the national security issues. And some of the economic issues we have today is because we don't even know the actual volume of money on our market. We don't even have real security to prevent counterfeiting of our money. And most of the money is circulating outside the banking sector. The structural issues, I'm too concerned about the structural issues. Understand? Because the structural issues will strengthen the control around the monitoring and supervision on how we carry on the new print of the money. But we can do all competently because the issue of accountability is already ongoing. And the government already audited the 16 billion. The process is ongoing. And accountability is a process. It's not even. It won't just happen overnight. You have to do a prosecution, holding people accountable, and strengthening control over financial management And and we carry on reform in the bank, and reform is currently ongoing within the banking sector and the central bank. Yeah, the government already restructured the bank at a certain level. We have new governor that will be confirmed anytime soon. We have new boards, we have new executives. There are a lot of structures in place. The IMF come in to see how best they can revamp the bank, the CBL. So a lot of things going on. Why these things going on? The issue of what? How you are unique. The issue here is not just printing additional money. My argument is not printing additional money. We just increase the supply of money. We got more money. It will also greatly affect the country. Why those structural issues is being addressed? The printing of money should also follow, because you can have the same money that you can account for. There's no security to the money. We don't even know the actual amount in the market. So what kind of, as we stand, we don't have real money to even back the economy that we want to establish. We don't even have money to even but the structure we want to put in place to even monitor, because all the money outside the banking sector. If you complete this, if you address the structural issues, with the same money still in the market, we'll still be coming to the same thing. So we can do that competently, ensure that, because to just say bluntly, don't print the money. For me, it doesn't make sense, because the issue of security attached to the money, the issue of understanding how much money we have in the market, how we circulate the money, how much money in the bank, how much money outside the bank. We don't have total accountability structures in place. It's not there. So the printing of the money is necessary. We can do everything competently, because from my information, the structural reform is ongoing. So I don't know what we should, because the printing of the new currency is part of the structural reform. So I don't know what we want to accept one part of it and reject the other one. I don't get it.
Thank you, Mr. Man. Thank you, Mr. Man. Again, folks, in cyberspace, this is Focus on Liberia. On our program, The Hour of Politics, with me, Anthony Sear, we have Mr. Morris Mann, and we have Mr. Stephen Johnson, discussing the topic, should the WIA administration be allowed to print new money? We will now go to comments, and gentlemen, when we return from reading some comments, Mr. Mann will now ask Mr. Johnson a question. All right, comments. We have Mr. Emre Nicole, who said he doesn't understand nor know the issues. He comes by again, Mora doesn't know the issue. Macaulay read, the map of money created scarcity, so the CBL had to reinsert the map of money into the market. Macaulay read again, my above statement should answer your question if aggregate demand, I don't know, he stopped the aggregate demand, and so on here. Emery Nicole again, Morris, you admit on structural issue, but how does printing new banknote fix the structural problem? These are the comments so far we have. Again, this is Focus on Liberia on our program, The Hour of Politics, with me, Anthony Sears. Folks, if you are joining us here in cyberspace, please share it and continue to write your comment. We will read them. Mr. Mann, back to you. What question do you have for Mr. Johnson?
Mr. Johnson, my own question is direct. If you are asked to make one recommendation to guide the demonetization process, what would be the recommendation?
Yes, what I would do, right? Here's what I would recommend. Historically, most of the monies in Liberia lies between Douala and Relay market. Most of the money. To the extent where most of the people you see holding the money for right within that corridor. Right within that corridor. Here's what I would do. And since most of those who holding the money are the biggest, the biggest economic guru within the country, I will first, as a government, ask every big taxpayer to pay their taxes in Liberian dollar. to pay taxes in Liberian dollar. So what we will do, I will have them front load their taxes. So we say pay your next 2-3 years taxes in Liberian dollar. Because these are the guys who influence the rate. These are the guys who influence the exchange rate. When they make their sale, for instance, when Total Liberia makes her sale in Liberian dollar, she keeps all of her Liberian dollar. When she wants to buy US in order United States dollar foreign exchange in order to import petroleum into the product, into the market, she goes into the market and say, I need US. So she's willing now to buy US at any prevailing rate. So when that happens, it affects the rate, right? It sends the rate way up. So we say, look, pay your taxes in Liberia. The second thing that I would recommend as the bank, I said it before, and I see the bank is moving towards that, is the issue of interest rate. But now it's the issue of interest rate. You have to make the interest rate attractive so that commercial bank will move their money into the central bank, because now they can accrue more money. But then the fundamental question to that would be, who pays the interest money? How do you fund the interest money? Those are other technical issues that the bank can work on. So that would be my recommendation. Allow big influencer of the rate to fund loan some of the taxes in Liberian dollar. That will be able to suck up some of the reserve that they keep it in private fort and bring it back into the central bank. And then from there, the bank can now regulate the supply of money, because that has been an historical problem, and it's not, and let me just piggyback a little on what you said about the structural reform at the bank. Most of what is happening at the central bank is as a result of the current government own doing. For instance, prior to 2018, the central bank had a staff capacity of about 227 staff capacity. Fast forward to 2018, by the end of 2018, that number had doubled. You had over 448 staff. Many persons were replicating functions. So it made the bank crowded. You had too many people in the bank who are any job description or responsibility, but simply because they wanted to take pay. It undermined the credibility of the bank. Now the bank payroll expense had to increase to the extent that, and why bank payroll are increasing.
Johnson. Yeah. How paying money, how carry on transaction in local currency undermine printing or unique currency for Liberia?
The first thing is you could wake up tomorrow and print a new currency, right? You could wake up tomorrow and print a new currency.
But Johnson,
listen, I'm coming there. Unless your argument here, listen.
Johnson, I know why you're not getting here.
No, that's the point. That's the point I want you to get first.
You ask a question.
Let me land a little bit. Let me land you.
Johnson, you missing something. Johnson, you
ask a question. Let me land.
I ask you a question.
So then let me land a little bit. So here's my point. You are more concerned with just changing the money. That's your major concern.
No,
change the money because they have security.
I raise security issues. I raise the value of the money.
But changing it doesn't change anything.
No, it changes because you know what? You know how it changes? It just change the money. Because it changed because we will know how much, we will know the volume of money. Up to now, you don't even know the volume of money in the Liberian market.
No, that's not true. The central bank, read the central bank report. The central bank report.
Listen now.
Read the central bank report.
The central bank had one report. If you
read the central bank's report. Don't.
And before Craig issued a report, former Governor Petrie had a press conference. He confirmed that 15.5 billion were printed. And credit reports show 18. So you see the variance. So it means that certain amount of money has not been accounted for.
But Mr. Man, I have a question.
Yeah.
Mr. Man, I have a question for you. Was a study done empirically in keeping with macroeconomic stability that informed the quantity of money that's being talked about that the government announced, $35 billion?
No.
Was any study done that made them to arrive at that amount?
Yes, I want to believe the government did a study.
It's never been published. There's no published study.
Listen, the issue is not be whether the government publishes or not.
But then how do we know?
Listen now.
except we want us to assume.
But
Listen
Mr.
now,
Man,
look,
Mr. Man, we need to know, the public need to know what
Before-
informs the government before coming up with the total amount they want to print. The only thing we heard, if you can remember, is the
See,
NED. They made a recommendation that print
See, let me
money.
make a point there.
That
See,
is
let me
not
make a point there.
empirical
See, let me
study.
make a point there.
see,
Yeah, let Morris
See.
land. Mhm.
see,
Yes.
before the government drafted a proposal,
Mhm.
they are status. We may not be privy to the information, but we can sit here to say the government just came out and say, okay, we're going to print money tomorrow, money, and it just $35 billion. No.
All right, Mr. Man, that answered the question. Steve, you go
Yeah.
ahead.
So here's the point out. You know, there has never been any published study concerning the 35 billion. I think it's all just we've just been hearing, oh, we need 35 billion, we need 35 billion. And if you listen across the flow as to the rationale behind why the government wants to print new money, it is not based on none of what Mens is saying. The government is simply saying that they want to, you know, listen to some of them. They want to have money to be able to fund some of the expenditure items. It's not
No.
Hold on, Morris. Hold on, Morris. Hold on.
A prominent member of this government had a post on social media when he talked about why they needed money to print. They needed to print money to be able to pay civil service. And if you also look at what is obtaining in the country, the government is behind on her payroll expense. So it further validates the argument. A lot of people have been without salary for the last 2 to 3 months. People have never been paid for the last 2 to 3 months, including the national legislature. They've not been paid over the last 3-4 months.
But
so
Steve,
it makes the case even more revealing as to why we see now there's this rush to print money.
So Steve, yeah. we have a question here from somebody viewing that says, if we don't have to print money, what do we do to address the problem?
So you fix it, and I think that is why
how do you fix
IMF. Yes, how you fix it. That's why the IMF through its ECF, External Credit Facility, that the government has now signed onto, is trying to make the government to shift more into austerity economics. So the IMF observed that the government was spending more than it raises in revenue. So there was high outside budget expenditure by the government. The IMF said, look, you got to recalibrate. You have to come back and spend within your budget. 2, the IMF said there must be technical and structural reform at the central bank. All of the people you flooded into the bank, you have to remove them. Now, what happened? The government now, I remember, I just learned that a couple of weeks ago, I had a meeting at the central bank. Most of those employees now will be changing them from employee status to now contractor. After a while, they will get rid of them. So you see a long list of things happening based on recommendation from the IMF. Now, amidst all of these things that are happening, it tells you that the IMF is telling the government that, look, these are the things you need to fix first. And when I hear men talk about concomitantly, this will not happen in economics, because one of the things when you do reform is that you have to be mindful of the reform shock. Surplus reform will create enormous shock that you will not be able. You cannot be talking about fixing the structural issue at the same time dumping money to the economy. You come back. You come back to where we are.
Thank you, Steve.
First thing first to fix structure. Fix technical issue. Recruit people that have the technical expertise, and then focus now on what you want to do later. But to say, well, let's focus on structural at the same time, let's infuse money, it defeats the purpose.
Thank you. Mr. Ben, what we've noticed recently is that the exchange rate is reportedly decreasing. Very recently, they said, oh, it dropped to 180 and 182, yet prices of goods and services continue to increase. So can you explain how the printing of money will help to solve this kind of situation? And
you see, the process of goods is also being triggered by the exchange differences. Because yesterday you were paying $5 US for something that, but then the rate was about $5 to $350 Liberian dollar. Today, because the increase in the rate, in US dollar, it still remain at $5, but in Liberian dollar, is at $900 or $1,000. Just a change difference. The change, the demonetization, what it would do is it will help to reduce the rates, the inflation, because now we don't know how much we have in circulation. The more the money supply, the more the money supply, the fact that our money does not have that bargain, that economic bargain, like other countries will still experience economic issue with our money. But my issue I'm raising here is we should have a unique currency. How the cutting spending legitimize the money that's in circulation that was not approved by the national legislature. The argument I'm making here is because you can be having money in circulation and never met legislative approval, and we call it legal tender. It does not make sense. No civil law does that.
It's not true.
All right, that's true, Mr. Man. A very good question there. Steve, I saw that you were shaking your head. We have just gone 1 hour. Usually this is the hour of politics. It goes for 1 hour, but we are giving you additional 30 minutes because I see that you guys still want to have a conversation. So let us move quickly to the issue of trust.
Okay.
And maybe the politics of this whole printing money. Steve, earlier you were talking about a well-known politician, two of them to be specific, Mr. Akara Gray and Jay Fonantikofa, another representative. They said clearly that they need to print money so that they can be able to pay salary for December. So can we agree that part of the reason they're printing the money is just to pay salary? So as an economy, when you hear that from an influential member of the ruling government, should we worry? And why should
I'm worried. I'm worried because here's what I'm worried. I'm worried for several reasons. One of the first reasons I'm worried is the fact that when issue about technical issues, when technical issue evolves, the politicians should allow for the technical people to weigh in first, so that they now have a clear understanding rather than just focus on the politics. I would think that members of the legislature will have first call in two sets of experts to look at the pros and cons about why we should print money and why we shouldn't, rather than just looking at printing money to pay the next salary. When you print money simply because you want to pay the next salary, then what will happen is by the time you pay the next salary, you will continue to print money to pay the next salary because economic activity is not happening. But at the same time, what you do, you just printing money. And then over time, what will happen is that your currency will become worthless. And I will predict that if that happens, I will predict that by the first quarter of next year, the exchange rate will go to over 300. If you should do that, I will predict that the exchange rate will go to 300 because economic output stays the same. It's almost like, for instance, if the total worth of the total value of the goods in the country is $100, and you have $100, it means that $100 can buy the total number of goods in the country, right? If you increase the $100 you have to $1,000, and then you still have the total number of goods in the country at 100, it means now you have $1,000 to buy $100 worth of goods. What happened? The value for the goods prices increase. So now that goods that you are buying for $100 for $1 now goes to $10. So that is the compound. That's the simple logic. So that is what we're saying. We're saying, look, the politicians should allow for the technicians to do the work. And if you're printing money simply because you want to fund payroll expense, then you're sending the country into hyperinflation because we will have more money chasing fewer goods, and over time that will further devalue our currency. So it's bad economics, it's bad for the country. I think the lawmakers should be more concerned with ensuring that all of the structural issues concerning why we have what we have today be addressed. The lawmakers should also be more concerned about all of the investigations that are ongoing, so that we can have a clear understanding as to what happened in the last 18 months.
Thank you, Steve. Folks in cyberspace, again, this is focused on Liberia. We are on our program, The Hour of Politics, with me, Anthony Sear. We have Mr. Stevie Johnson and Mr. Morris Steedman discussing whether or not the WIA administration should be allowed to print new banknotes. Mr. Mann, I know you are not here as a member of the ruling party. You are here because the subject we are discussing, your academic achievement, is in that regard. That is why you are here. But if you hear a politician saying that they have to print money, two of them saying that, I mean, as a Liberian, as an expert, in the issue of money, what comes to your mind?
And Brother C, you see, for me, I see it from two angles. And the something called layman and economics.
Okay.
And you may not be economic, but you may think that certain economic issue will trigger another one. You understand? And even the market woman in real life market understand supply and demand. You don't have to tell them. Understand? Those guys are politicians. And they know that when you print money, there are several economic issues and you address. You address inflation. Yeah. And when you reduce inflation, you also reduce the price of commodity.
Let me just interject. Printing money. It's not true. Printing money can reduce inflation.
You will soon learn, Steve.
Yes, because when you demonetize the money, it means that the new banknote you'll be printing, it will have good security feature, and you will not just throw it in the market. When you infuse in that money, you will infuse it through the banking sector. You will put control around it to mitigate the risk of people counterfeiting the money, and you will also monitor the money, how much money in the market.
But inflation is
coming.
General price.
Let Steve, I have a question for you on that.
Oh my God.
Go ahead, Mr. Man, you are protected.
And when that process helps to reduce inflation, it will also impact sales. And the next thing it will do here is it will combat black market. It means that people that are printing counterfeits and bringing in the market, we can detect the real money from the counterfeit. So it will reduce the risk of people putting excess money in the market to trigger inflation. We can deal with that. It will help to stimulate the economy. Economic issues will start to boom. And when those things start happening, government will start to mobilize resources because a lot of people are not paying taxes today because businesses, economic issues, economic activity is not really working. It's not really going on. So the government survive on taxes. So when you see people saying when we print money, government be able to pay salary, it means that they are saying from our own layman economic standpoint that economic activity will improve, government will raise and government will mobilize.
So, Mr. Man, are you saying
yes, the point you're making
is Gray was speaking from a layman economic.
But economics.
I know.
Economists.
But what Miz is saying is not even economics.
Impact. Listen to me.
All right, Mr.
You
Man.
and myself talking as a professional. I'm saying I will say from two ways. I can say the wrong or the
but
right.
We can't be having a professional conversation and we'll be thinking like people who don't have the training. Then we're not being fair to the country.
All right, gentlemen, let's do this. Gentlemen,
will not understand what we're saying. Because
gentlemen, let's do this. Gentlemen, let's do this. Again, folks in cyberspace, this is focused on Liberia. The debate, this conversation is getting a little heated. Let's leave it there, Mr. Man. Steve.
Yes, sir.
I was in flat. I
will come to you, Mr. Man. I will be very fair to you. I'll come to you. Okay. Steve.
Yes, sir.
Both consumer price inflation and the depreciation of the Liberian dollar are in double digit. You follow these numbers so you know. So why make you to think that printing money can be part of the solution?
Well, printing money, we print that money. We have a new currency. What happened? Inflation double. You have inflation hovering around 30 to 33%. Inflation basically is an increase in the general price level to the extent where it reduces the purchasing power of your people. So what is happening is that economic activity is not taking place. You have 0% growth rate. You have 0% growth rate. You have
yes, actually 0.4%.
Yeah, you have high unemployment. You have a situation where the government cannot meet up with its obligation of paying people salary. It has significantly reduced people's ability to purchase goods and services within the country. So how does printing new money address those issues? It can't.
Thank you.
Printing money doesn't solve the issue of changing the money. It doesn't solve inflation.
All right, thank you. Fair answer. Let's come to you, Mr. Mann. Mr. Mann, the issue of trust. Trust, you are an expert in financial management. You know about trust.
That makes
this government
to Echo Bank right now.
This government
money for Wells Fargo and carry Echo Bank.
Mr. Mann, can this government be trusted to print money when the government could not actually, show proper management of the 16 billion and then the 25 million?
And see, one time I listened to Ellen, she was on the air and said CBS is an autonomous entity.
Okay.
Understand? They have some autonomy, and the executive has some limitation in terms of being part of their operational and administrative activities.
Okay.
And the issue of trust. Yes, you can trust the government because this government are not printed money. And this government just inherited the issue of the money that were printed. And the issue that, look, one thing I want to put something in context here. And the argument the government is making is not to print money because people are trying to politicize a different message. The government trying to demonetization is different from printing additional money. Let's get this clear. Because if we start to send a message like this, people will understand that, oh, they want to print different money and bring in the market and will increase inflation. No. We're trying to what? The government is arguing that because of the discrepancy, fraud, surrounding the printing and infuse and circulation of our currency, we want to demonetize the money. So we want to know what happening to our money, how much money we have, the security feature. How do we mitigate the risks or counterfeiting our money? Those are the issues the government want to address.
And forget about the structural issue.
Listen now. You understand? It's not the government not saying now we want to go print additional money because what happened in the past, they printed additional money.
So yeah, will be another recommendation I will give.
They printed additional money and printed additional money. It won't solve the economic issue because it will increase inflation. Because the first thing, you don't even know how much is in circulation as we speak.
That's not what the central bank says.
Listen to me. If you listen to the central bank, listen to all the report.
So who do I listen to when it comes to
listen now? You're a professional person. You got your own risk analysis.
Now look at the central bank.
Listen, besides looking at the central bank, you read all the various reports and do your own risk analysis. Looking at the variances that are reported in this report. The discrepancies, that marry the process of the printing of the money.
All right, Mr. Mann.
Those are issues that you draw our concern to demonetize the money.
All
to
right,
have a unique currency that we can track, that we can add economic value to.
Mr. Mann, thank you. Thank you so much. And folks in cyberspace, again, this is Focus on Liberia. On our program, the Hour of Politics with me, Anthony Sear, we have Mr. Morris Mann, we have Mr. Stephen Johnson. Two gentlemen, heated conversation. Mr. Johnson.
Yes, sir.
If my memory serves me right, some time ago it was reported that the Central Bank of Liberia was trying to destroy some of the money that they have taken out of the market because, as we refer to it in Liberia, money or mutilated banknote. They said on that fateful day, it was raining. So the money was not destroyed. And since then, we have not gotten any report whether or not they were able to carry on the exercise. What we see now is that there's too much of mutilated banknote on the market. People are crying. I listened to the story about a lady who was at a saving club, and they have about 1 million Liberian dollars. And so she went to get the money. The bank could not even give her $100,000. They gave her 60. The 60 they gave her, when she looked up the money, she could not get about 30% of that in good looking money. What is happening?
So you see, and those are some of the questions we have to address first before we move to printing new money. The CBR reported that she needed 5.5 billion, 5.4, 5.5 billion to be able to vacuum the mutilated note. Now, that money was approved. The CBL had the money flowing to the country. Whether it achieved the desired result remains some of the questions that we ought to address here. And this is why when I intimated here over and over that instead of us just being worried about the politics about money, and because we want to print money simply because we need to fund some of our expenditure items, let us put in place mechanisms through which we can be able to resolve most, or if not all, of the issues that we saw happen over the last few months. What happened to those mutilated money? Those are questions the central bank. And as I learned, and it's been reported in the news, there's a court case ongoing. So we should also be interested in the findings from the court case so that we can be able to know all of the issues that happen. And those who are responsible should be brought to book. So we cannot, without focusing on the structural issue, argue that we just print money. Print money to do what? Just to change money? And let me tell you something. And this is what I think it is important for us to be able to do as a country is to look at in total all of the cross-cutting issues and see how best the central bank can mitigate them. I read the central bank report, the central bank strategy she issued yesterday, talking about ways she's trying to mitigate. Unless we resolve those structural issues, it will be deja vu all over again. So
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Mr. Mann, this administration was given what we call turnover note. Financial management or money is the engine of the government. So anyone who have taught the turnover note, who have informed the government to know exactly the monetary health of the country, and we immediately inform the Liberian people appropriately and define the strategy to avoid this macroeconomic instability that we are having. What happened?
And I think the government got a turnover note, and from that turnover note, the government informed the Liberian people that they inherited a broken economy in a broke country. So we're based on those data and numbers they receive from the government. But the fact is, are coming now.
Hold on, Steve, he didn't interrupt you.
Yeah. But what beat our imagination is what are they disclose everything, understand? Because after the government took over, new information started to emerge surrounding the whole money issue. So the issue of a turnover note is one thing, and full disclosure is another thing. Well, there was a full disclosure because when the 16 billion issue broke up, the government was clear that there were a lot of things that were not disclosed to them. And the government even informed that 18.5 billion were even printed and brought in the country and circulated within our economy. This government not informed. So that's part there was disclosure, there was turnover note, but there was the issue of full disclosure became an issue. A lot of things were not disclosed to the government. New information started to emerge. It makes it very difficult for the government to tackle economic issues. Now, these reports, in the discrepancy in this report, I informed the government that our currency That's why it does not have the economic backing, but it's not worth to be called money. And moreover, 70% of the money that was printed and circulated never met legislative approval. How can we call that money legal tender? Those are issues we need to talk about. How do we take those fake money from the market and have a unique currency and to resolve these issues? We can have.
If you say, let me interject. If you say fake money, you are talking about only the money that was not approved by the first branch of government.
Yes, if the money is not approved by the first branch of government, it's not legal tender.
And that's the only fake money you would have knowledge of?
No, that other fake money we don't have knowledge of.
But
that's what I can speak to.
But man, 31% of that money came in under the new administration.
What are you calling the new administration?
And the new administration used.
You're a professional person. You're a professional person. And like the final administration do a professional person.
Hold on, Steve. Let him
the fact that money not met legislative approval, it does. You
use it.
Whether we use it or not, understand? What is not done right is not done at all, Stevie. And you know.
So why do you have to use something that you use something
that's illegal?
The fact is, it was already in circulation.
No. You took delivery. Ninja get in circulation. They went to the air feed.
The government took delivery.
Delivery carried to the central bank, unloaded the container.
Listen to me, Stevie. If the government took delivery of some of the money, the fact that was in the 10-over note, the private that will not disclose. New information emerges.
Man,
I come in now.
You're an auditor.
Listen to me. Listen to me.
If you succeed, let him close, Steve. Be patient.
If you give me a chance.
Go ahead, buddy.
Yeah, but man, you gotta be brief now because
the government discovered that the intent of the money was not addressed. The issue of taking the mutilated money from the market was not addressed.
Okay.
The issue of what and the 13 billion was intended to replace the legacy banknote. Because some old money on the market to replace it. All the issue was not addressed. So they left the legacy banknote, the mutilated money, and infused 18.5 million on the market, which triggered the inflection.
All right, Mr. Man, let leave it there.
And all the information was not in the 10-over note.
Okay, Mr. Man, let leave it over there. Gentlemen, let's come to our final question. We have you here for a little over an hour now. We don't want to continue that much. Folks in cyberspace, again, this is Focus on Liberia on our program, The Hour of Politics with me, Anthony Sear. Mr. Man is here with us as guest, and we also have Mr. Stevie Johnson. Steve, you go first on our final question. This is not debatable. The shortage of money in our commercial banks got every Liberian panicking in the country. What is going on? How did we get here?
It's a number of things happen, and all of us should be worried. I think one of the first things that we all should look at is the issue of bad economic decision by the current administration. More to that, the issue of
such
as first the central bank, for example, the government upon taking office in January, as I intimated, the central bank had a staff capacity of about 227, without doing any real study to see why you should increase, for instance, the payroll expense of the central bank. People started flooding the place. By the end of 2018, the central bank staff capacity grew by over 100% to 448. The second thing is of budget spending. The government started spending money it did not have. You saw a situation where the foreign embassies had to issue a letter telling you that the government used up their money in their account. And the government did not even put it back. The third thing you have to look at is our net reserve. The last figure of our net reserve was around 154 million. As we speak today, that money is around 18 million.
What happened to the money?
The government kept borrowing from the central bank. And did
what with it?
Using it to fund her payroll expenditure. If you realize that the wage bill in 2018 was 297 million a year. By the end of 2018, the wage bill went up to 303 million. What happened? The IMF, through its recent program, has forced the government to take the payroll back to 297. So this is why you see people talking about harmonization, because if you do not harmonize, take from poor to pay Peter, by the time, and this is what happened, the government does not even have the capacity to be, one of the simplest things any government must do is to be able to pay your employees.
All right.
If you have a situation where the government cannot pay her employees, people going 4 months without pay, 3-4 months without pay, it's worrisome.
Thank you.
Politics aside, I think this is something that all of us should be concerned about, that it has the ability to cause serious revolt, internal revolt.
Thank you, Steve.
When people cannot find food to eat, you know what happened.
Thank you, Steve. Mr. Man, huge shortage of money at the commercial banks. People are not getting their money. You just listened to Steve. He said the government made bad economic decision, brought in the payroll with thousands of new employees, and now you can't pay them. What do you have to say?
I don't understand how increasing the payroll will take money from the commercial bank or create shortage in the commercial bank. I don't get that. You know,
so what is responsible for that?
I will have to do some research to get some information. And from my own studies, there are two major things that are contributing to a lack of money within the commercial bank. One is what? And lack of what? A liquidation of debt. You get me? Lack of liquidation of debt. The bank accredited more people, and because of bad, the economy is bad. The bank are able to recover the money outside, debt. Two, the bank a lot of bad debt on her book. Two, the culture of our saving. In Liberia, how many persons do save money in bank? We don't have the culture of saving. People believe in keeping their money in their homes, keeping their money to someone. It's not an issue of not trusting government, but with the culture of saving. Liberia don't even save. When I was growing up, understand how many persons in my community, even my parents had a bank account. Even my late father, may so rest in peace, when he passed, he didn't show a bank account. I know other people, many people that I know that live in Liberia, don't even have a bank account. So the culture of saving, those are the things that are affecting money.
Is that why the government is forcing people to open bank accounts now?
Yes, because
you force people
to open accounts. You're
not forcing people.
The government is forcing people.
Exactly.
Because if you send your family person money,
listen now, the government is encouraging people to what? When you say force, it means that if you don't do this, the
can't get your money.
That's what happened, Mr. Man. If somebody send money to a family member,
not following event by whom?
Listen to me. I send money every day. I run a business in Liberia. I send money every time.
Yeah, but if you run a business, if you're sending the money,
I send money to the bank.
So they're not withdrawing all.
Listen now, no, it doesn't go into my account.
If I send
listen to me.
Steve at his time.
Steve, you are talking
at his time. Mr. Man,
look,
this is a common known fact.
Steve do me justice, and he was presenting.
I'm protecting you. Go ahead.
Yeah, but you trying to.
Mr. Man, you are protected. Go ahead.
I'm telling you, some of the problem is a liquidity problem. People are not even liquidating their debt with the Bureau banks. The debt stock is huge at the Bureau banks. Business people credit from the bank and their business collapse.
And our understanding is that the government too credited from the bank and the government has not paid.
Overdrafts.
Too many overdrafts. This is reliable information that we have received here. Focus.
Okay. So
the government is the problem.
Listen, though you can say the government is the problem. What I'm saying are two major things I know will contribute to the lack of money in the bank in Liberia: the culture of saving and what the debt stock. The bank ability to recover our money from the market.
So do you believe that if the government can pay the commercial banks, the commercial banks will have money
Besides
to...
the government, don't tie to the government. Everybody owe the bank. It's not only the government owing the bank. Private citizens, business people owing the bank, but they weren't able to pay because the economic system is not working. You know, to raise capital to pay that debt and sustain that
Okay.
business.
Yeah,
Thank you, Mr. Man. Mr. Man, thank you, folks. Yeah, hold on, folks. Folks in cyberspace, this is Focus on Liberia on our program, The Hour of Politics, with me here. My name is Anthony Sie. Maurice May is here. We have Mr. Stephen Johnson, and we've been having a national conversation whether or not the current administration should print new banknotes. Gentlemen, we have to come to the close of this broadcast. We cannot go more than an hour and 30 minutes. I will let you go first, Steve, to give your closing statement. And for your closing statement, please give just one recommendation that can help our government to solve this problem of this macroeconomic instability we have.
Let me say, the first thing I'd like to say in closing is it's a disservice to our people when you say Liberians don't have a culture of saving. Like Liberians do. They do have a culture of saving. They just don't trust the banks. Eating money at home. Everybody knows that. Parents get money under the mattress. Everybody knows, you know. People just don't trust the bank. And the second thing is, a lot of people in Liberia, because savings is a function of income. For you to save, you must have income. So if you don't have
Steve, can you make an adjustment at your end? We're getting feedback from your end.
No, it's not my end.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So for you to save, you must have income, because saving is a function of income. If our people don't have income, they don't save. So if unemployment is at an all-time high, people cannot afford, people don't have jobs, they cannot make income. How do they save? And in fact, even those that are saving experience what we term in economics as this saving, because if I make $200 and I get paid every month, by the time I get paid, I just go and take $100 from there to fund my immediate expenditure item. The other $100, I don't even allow it to stay in the bank. I withdraw it before, because most of what people have at the banks are salary account. They're not savings account. So it tells you, it tells you why people just don't trust. People just don't have.
So your recommendation?
In closing, yes, what I will recommend. I will recommend to the government that it must follow to the letter the IMF recommendation as indicated in the ECF program, the External Credit Facility program. And two, I would think the government needs to focus on moving Liberia from an economy where people must transact in physical cash to a much more digital economy. Because when people have digital money, it is just money on paper, like what you have here in the US. So if CA has $10 billion in his Wells Fargo account, as far as CA is concerned, he has $10 billion on paper in his account. Whether that actual cash is in your account laying there is not the case. So that money is used. So people transact using digital money. I can't remember the last time I even had $100 in my hand. It's not the case with Liberia. So what I would recommend the government to do is create a digital platform, so that, because most of what people need physical cash for is for consumption purposes, right? People want to buy food, they want to buy gas, and those are basic things. They want to pay rent. Those are basic things Liberians need cash for. So move it, organize, have people have POS, point of sale machine at gas station. Let people let mobile money, for instance, let people start to use mobile money. So create a digital platform across the country where people can transact using digital money. That will help to reduce the demand for physical cash. It will reduce the circulation of actual money within the economy. Some people now will just be moving money around using digital platforms. So that would be my recommendation.
Thank you. Brilliant recommendation there from Mr. Stephen Johnson, our outstanding guest here today on Focus on Liberia. I think, Steve, we have to bring you here sometime in the future to discuss.
I'm available
the
anytime.
Issue that you just raised, and maybe we'll bring Mr. Mann to how best we can restructure our economy, digitizing the economy, using digital money. It will help to even minimize corruption. Exactly. Mr. Mann, it's your turn. What is one recommendation that you have for our struggling government and country. Our people are suffering.
For me, the first thing I want the government to do and the legislature to do is to what? To resolve the issue of the money. We should have a unique currency. We should have a unique currency and currency that we can monitor with strong security features. That should be the first priority issue. And I would agree with Stephen because the electronic transaction, even around the world, that's the best thing because it helps to reduce money in circulation in the market because the more the money circulating in the market, it also trickle inflation. You know, a lot of things can happen. It also grow underground economy, they also grow underground economy to the larger extent that put pressure on the real economy. So that suggestion and that recommendation also in that direction. But first thing we need to do, considering all of the issues we have with our money, the way we're printed, the way we're infusing the economy, we need to what? Resolve the issue of the money, have unique money, and people should understand, and we as professionals, we need to send a message straight. We need to tell our people that the government is not just printing new money. The government is demonetizing, the government is changing the money because that is explaining it to the people because the issue of money does not even affect the government alone. It also affects everybody, even in the opposition and governing position, it affects everybody because everybody needs money for what? For different purpose. And one of the things I want to recommend to the government again is government should what? And process all her transactions in Liberian dollar. It also will reduce the demand for what? And foreign currency. Because if government start purchasing everything, if government start making transactions in your own currency, because the demand of US dollar is not only from the importer anymore, it's also from the government. Because if you look at the government wage bill, and almost 80% of the government wage bill is paid in US dollar. Where the government gets that money from, the government is not producing United States dollar. But if all government transaction is done in local currency, it means that government demand for 80% payment in US will leave the matrix, and only the importer now will need a US. So, and then we can direct the importer to buy that US directly from the bank.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you for honoring our call here today on Focus on Liberia on this program, The Hour of Politics. Mr. Ben, brilliant suggestions, and I think we will find time to reach out to the both of you. Stephen made a suggestion about digitizing our economy, using mobile money, using digital money if possible. I think it will help a lot to control corruption. Maurice made a very good recommendation too, that we should use only the Liberian dollar for transaction in Liberia. The US dollar should just be maybe at the central bank or at the commercial bank. Maybe the Liberian dollar should be the only money to be legal tender in Liberia. Yes, you see, so that is a recommendation that came from the Liberian Economic Group. I think Dr. Tipota is part of that group and they made that recommendation. I think it will help us. The Ghanaians are doing it, other countries are doing it. I think it is about time that we Liberians do this. I think it will help us. In the future, we'll bring you guys on to discuss the two major topics. We have taken note on that. Again, it was a great pleasure having you. We want to appreciate you for honoring our call. Folks in cyberspace, this is how we'll draw the curtain here on Focus on Liberia on our program, The Hour of Politics, with me, Anthony C. That will do it for us, and bye-bye for now.